Finding the right bank is an important part of running a small business. You want to make sure that you find a bank that meets your needs, but you also want to be aware of some of the fees you might encounter with your bank. Knowing what these fees are and how to avoid them could save you hundreds of dollars every year. Hi, everybody. I'm Brandon Gustafson. I own and operate 2 assisted living facilities, and I created this channel to help people just like you learn the ins and outs of investing in assisted living. Welcome to Assisted Living Investing. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. In our last video, we talked about should you set up direct deposits for your residents and their families, their payees? Should you do that? So go ahead and watch that video and let me know what you think down below in the comments. Today, we're going to get into small business bank fees that you should be aware of as you're working to try to figure out which banking institution you want to work with. You want to make sure that you're aware of some of those fees that might come up, some traditional ones and some hidden fees. So we're going to get into that in today's video. So what are some of the fees that you might encounter? What are some of the fees that you should be aware of? You want to keep an eye out for as you're looking at setting up your business bank account. Number one would be a monthly service fee. So some banks are going to charge you a service fee if you don't maintain a certain balance in your account. Which in a small business shouldn't be a big deal. Especially in assisted living, I would think that you'd have enough to hit that bare minimum, but it's still something you don't want to risk because those fees are typically going to be like 10 to 20 bucks a month just to maintain that account, which is quite a bit. I mean, if you think about it, $120 to $240 a year, that's a lot of money you'd be putting in for just a service fee. So you want to avoid that. It's done easily enough with the bank account, with the business bank account, but I would just suggest that you avoid it if you can. Excess transactions. This one to me is just silly, but I get it, especially if you're a business where you're doing a lot of transactions. In assisted living, we don't do a ton of transactions, so it's not something you probably would need to worry about. But a lot of banks will have a transaction fee. If you have too many transactions in a month, they'll start charging you a fee 40 to 50 cents per transaction above that transaction limit, which can add up to a lot if you fall into that category. So, you're going to typically get a lot of free transactions. In assisted living, we're not doing a ton of transactions. You're probably going to be fine, but you want to make sure that you're aware of that, especially if you're another type of business that might be watching this channel to learn a little bit about small business banking fees. If you're a transaction-based business, you want to make sure that you're aware that those fees might come up, and you could avoid them by working with a bank that doesn't have those types of transaction fees. Cash deposit fees. So some banks, they don't really like to deal with cash. And so if you're doing too much cash, they are going to start charging you fees for it. So, we're kind of transitioning things over to digital banking, just in case you haven't noticed that, which is fine. There's pros and cons to it. But because of that, that's why banks just don't necessarily like to have cash on hand. They typically don't have a ton of cash in the bank anymore. So they will put a limit on the amount of cash that you can go in and deposit. And if you deposit too much cash, you might get charged a fee. So make sure that you find out about this because especially in assisted living, you're going to be dealing with large amounts of money. Typically, your residents and their payees are going to be paying you with a check, which is different from cash. But you might have one that is a big stickler and they want to pay you only in cash, and you need to decide if that's something you want to do or not. You could simply just not allow cash payments, but if you had somebody that was just like, we're going to leave if we don't do it, and they're a really good resident, you might consider keeping them for that. But then you want to have that conversation with your bank. I'm going to be getting $3,000 a month from this one resident, and it's going to be in cash. Is that going to be a problem? Is there anything we can do if there are fees associated with it to avoid those fees? So just something you want to be aware of. You could get a non-sufficient funds fee. So if you don't have enough money in the bank account, then you get charged a fee. And those can be as much as $35 per transaction. So you just want to make sure that you carry a balance in your account. You don't want to get to the point where you're having stuff charged to that account when there's no money in it, and then you're having to cough up even more money. So just kind of be aware of that. And that's really helpful, especially if you've transitioned banking institutions or something like that. And we talked about ACH last in a couple videos ago. If you had set it up for an ACH payment with a certain bank account and now you switched it over to a different bank account and you didn't transition it over with that vendor, that's where those types of things could fall into place. So just make sure you're kind of following up on that, making sure that you're aware of the types of accounts that you have set up so that you don't get charged any non-sufficient funds fees. Another one would be ATM fees. Now, in assisted living, we're not going to the ATMs all that often, but it's something else that you just want to make sure that you're aware of. If you did get to the point where you had to get cash out for some reason and you had to go to an ATM to do that, then you could get ATM fees, and those can be $2.50 to $5 per transaction, depending on the bank and the ATM and how it works. So it's very easily to avoid if you have the right bank or if you're just dealing with cards and ACH transactions, but just something that you also want to be aware of. And I talked about this in a previous video about wire transfer fees. So with a wire transfer fee, if you've ever done a wire out of your business, there's going to typically be like a $15 to $25 service fee to do the wire. Just depends on the banking institution, depends on how quickly you need to get the funds there. There are a few variables there, but if you are ever going to need to do a wire for some reason, you just want to make sure that you're aware that that's going to happen. I would say you're probably not going to have too many wire transfers in your business, but you never know. And so just another fee that you want to consider. You may also have like ACH fees. So just keep an eye out for those as you're having those conversations with your bank. I'd hate for you to get to the point where, yep, I love ACH. It's going to work great. You get it set up and you find out that you can only do bill pay with 5 different vendors. And after that, it's a $5 service fee to do any other ACH thing. So make sure you're just having a conversation there. I talked about ACH in a previous video. I'll link that up above so you can go and watch that and learn a little bit more about what ACH payments are and how they work. The next thing is hidden fees. So in addition to those fees that I just listed off that are pretty common, you're going to find a bunch of hidden fees that might just kind of pop up as you're going around and just kind of working through things. So these are things you want to make sure you're having a conversation with the bank and be like, hey, what are all the fees that you have? I want to see what all of those fees are, the hidden and the typical fees, and I need to know kind of what these are, know what I'm getting into. Because I'd hate to see you do your underwriting and then you're like, okay, I'm going to set up bill pay, and then you get bill pay and now you're having to do an extra $5 for every single transaction or something like that. And over the course of the year, you're losing $500. Like it would be horrible. So just make sure you do your homework and have a conversation with your bank to figure out exactly what those hidden fees might be so that you don't run into them because every bank is going to have them. Just do your homework on what they are and try to mitigate the amount of fees that you're going to see. So some hidden fees that you might see are like an online bill pay fee. So we pay our bills online, and so getting a charge for that would kill us. It would be horrible. So because we do almost all of our stuff online. A mobile deposit fee. Especially in a business like assisted living, where a lot of your residents are going to be paying you with a check. And if you don't have a bank nearby, a bank branch or something like that, or you just want the convenience of doing a mobile deposit, it would be horrible to get a mobile deposit fee. So make sure you look into that. External bank transfer fee. If you're, like we talked about in a previous video, you've got your operational business, your real estate business, and you're transferring the funds over there for the lease payment. If you're getting charged a fee for that, that's not cool. Or if you're paying yourself and you've got to pay a fee to pay yourself, like those are things that's just like, I don't want to do that. So try to avoid those. Saving withdrawal fees, like if you had a savings account that you wanted to put the money into, and then you needed access to it again, but it's going to charge you a fee. You want to make sure that you're aware of that type of a thing. Card replacement fees, if you lost a card or it was stolen or something like that and you had to get a new card, are you going to get charged a fee for that? Those are some of those types of things. There are so many hidden fees. Just do your research on what your bank has. Google or do an internet search for hidden bank fees and things like that. You'll find there are hundreds of them out there. Make sure you're just kind of aware of what they are, ones that might be concerning to you. Do your research on them, find out if your bank is going to have them, and if it's going to be too much, then choose a different banking institution. If it still has those fees, just because a bank has a fee doesn't mean that you can't work with them. You just want to make sure that you're mitigating the amount of money that you are paying to fees that could be done for free by somebody else, is the best advice I could give you in this situation. So, can you avoid bank fees? Yes. In a previous video, I talked about who you should bank with, and I'll reference that up above here. And I give a lot of really good information in that video about how you go through the process of finding the right bank for you and for your business. But you're going to be able to find banks that don't have fees or have very low fees and infrequent fees. So a big part of that video was how to find that right banking institution that meets all of your needs and does it while avoiding fees. I would highly suggest that you look for a local bank or credit union that has really good customer service and less fees or lower fees, and start working with them. That's going to be your best option. That's what I would suggest that you do. So do your best to avoid the big banks. They have some convenience to them, but they also are going to have a lot more fees. And if you want to save yourself some money, find something local that you can work with. In our next video, we're going to be getting into should you get a business credit card? So I'll link that up above. But should you go and get a business credit card? I don't know. Let's find out in our next video. To learn more about investing in assisted living, please visit me on assistedlivinginvesting.net. I have free resources over there, content. You can set up a coaching call with me. I'd love to have a conversation with you. And then follow me on my other social media platforms. And just remember, it doesn't take a lot, just a little bit. Keep making progress step by step by step. If you do that, I promise you, you will be successful. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.